Welcome to Diary of a Dreamer, where resilience unlocks your potential. I'm Tasha Eizinger, and each week I'll bring you powerful stories and practical insights from my own experiences and inspiring guests. Whether you're facing challenges or chasing dreams, this podcast is your go-to for motivation, building confidence, and practical tips for transforming obstacles into opportunities. Be sure to check out my website, tashaeizinger.com. Let's dive into today's episode and start turning your dreams into reality. Today, we are with my dear friend, Dr. Heather Baker. She has 9 years of experience in teaching in public schools and diverse backgrounds. She did 2 graduate teaching assistants at the university level. Is that right? And then her dissertation is on resilience and coping strategies. She's all about giving up on giving up. And I'm so excited to have you here to tell us all about resilience and the things that you've been learning and discovering through your dissertation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited as well. Very good. Would you like for me to start, or do you have a question layout that you'd like to go with?
Yeah. So first of all, one of my concerns is I've been hearing from so many different people about the lack of resilience in children and adults. And you and I both know that it's critical that we have this because life is hard and we need to have strategies to be able to deal with life. We can't just always shut down. So what have you found in your research that helps people maybe be just a little bit more resilient?
What I've noticed a lot, and I've been working with teachers in the field, also with students at the university level, and what I've noticed a lot is a difficulty with self-talk. And so when we take a look at what we are trying to accomplish and the goals that we're setting for ourselves, there's 2 different aspects. So it's this idea that, am I good enough? Am I going to accomplish this? And what we end up doing is falling into this easy trap, is what I call it in quotations, which is basically the easiest thing to do is to just quit and just decide to do something else. And I think it's so important for adults and students who are out there to just understand that quitting is just kind of like a premature surrender for your goal. And it doesn't have to be this lofty idea of this is what I want to accomplish, but just an idea that, you can pivot, and it doesn't always need to be what you think it needs to be. So when working with students and adults, it's been this idea that the self-talk of understanding what we're feeling and why we're feeling it is important. Like your emotions are valid, but understanding a way to come out of it and come around it to say, where do I go from here? What's the data? And what do I have to work with? And how can I be successful with what I have? And maybe it doesn't look like this image we thought, but it's something else that's beautiful also.
So I'm hearing adaptability, self-awareness and
Mhm.
adaptability.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always like to think of people that are listening and refuting stuff that you're saying. So I'm sure somebody's listening and they're like, oh, but you don't know about this situation where it really was the decision to quit, right? So when are some times where it's like, okay, this does make sense to quit, and this is not what we're talking about?
Yes. Well, there's all these really important times where quitting is so important. Like it's a philosophical piece that you have to be okay with it. One, integrity. Is it something you believe in? Is it the goal that you actually want? If your heart's not into it, you're not going to feel as strongly about that goal. So quitting becomes okay because it gives you more time, more energy, and more headspace to pivot, which is, one of those options, to accomplish something that really is meaningful or important in your world. So we talk about, what do people want to accomplish, and they want to do this thing, and sometimes it just doesn't fit that picture.
Mm-hmm. And I like that you're talking about like adjusting the goal. I think that that's so important. And I think there's not enough people talking about adjusting your goals. I think sometimes people think, oh, I have this goal and I have to accomplish this thing. So what are some questions people can ask themselves as they're on the way that maybe they need to adjust the goal, whether it's the actual goal, the timeline, their strategy? Like what questions should people be asking themselves?
So when you sit down and you think, what is the actual outcome that I want to have happen with this? Like, if this is the picture in my head, what is the goal? And then we have to lay out some honest steps. So how do we get to that goal? And are the steps the pieces that I actually want to have happen? I think it comes down to taking out all of the unsupportive or unproductive pieces, and those are kind of hurtful to us and ourselves when we're talking about resiliency. So things that bring us down or cause that baggage, negative feelings, doubt. So when we take a look at those, you can ask yourself, am I spinning my wheels? Am I trying to make this thing that is not a horse look like a horse? Uh, just some honest pieces. So surrendering to reality is kind of how I had put it, but just honestly evaluating, can I accomplish these? And if you can't, these steps, take it down, make some mini steps, and are those accomplishable? And sometimes you're right. When we look at that, the whole picture changes. And that's okay too, because maybe it's more meaningful to what you want to do. So if I have this lofty idea of being a teacher, and then I break it down into mini steps and I say, I really like talking one on one with people and I really like helping people with problems. Maybe being a school guidance counselor is more of an appropriate piece. And that's not bad. It just means that along the way, what I wanted changed. Um, and you asked for maybe some steps. I think just that those honest understandings help us redirect our energy and have maybe a more clear vision of what we want in the long run, which is better for ourselves.
Yeah. So here again, I hear like the self-awareness aspect of really
Mhm.
knowing what do you actually want and why do you want it. I also think it's important who you surround yourself with. Like, I
Mm.
feel so fortunate to have like powerhouse women that I trust surrounding me. So sometimes they help me see, like, oh, wait a minute. No, you should keep going. Like, you're on the right track. You might not see it right now. Or maybe it is time to adjust. What is the role in our close relationships in terms of being resilient and persevering?
Yeah. So when I broke things down, actually, with the research, it came into five different categories of how we cope with things. One is obviously the maladaptive category, which is like, my job is hard. I'm just going to work harder and it's going to get easier, which doesn't happen. But the other main branch is using your connections, your resources, connecting with others. That can come through mentorships, that can come with relationships and healthy ways of getting feedback from others. So that is such an important piece for a lot of people, especially educators. Being disconnected was hugely problematic. So when we're talking about the relationships that we set, understanding that one, we want people that we are respecting, that we feel have a decent amount of integrity, that we respect them and their opinion in the field. And then just for some people it was just talking to their family, to their mother, their animal, whatever it was, but being connected to others in an honest relationship that was supportive. So that was a big part of it.
So, what are the other three? So, you said maladaptive, you said close relationships. What are the other three of the five?
The other three of the five is mentally understanding. So when I'm trying to deal with a situation, I'm trying to mentally understand what. So we try to make sense of it, right? Which is that self talk piece. A lot of people get through it by just saying, I'm just going to grin and bear it. I'm just going to, look the other way. They use maybe like a quote type situation where this is good for me. I'm just going to overcome. It's going to be grit. I'll be better on the end. The mentally understanding, I'm just trying to make meaning of it. The other side is the emotional coping. So when we talk about emotional coping with something, we're self reflecting on it. We're setting boundaries that are healthy for us. We're seeking therapy or counseling, some kind of emotional support. So we talked about the mentorships, the relationship side, the emotional side, mentally understanding side. The last category is a problem focused category. So it's the idea of actively doing something. So if I don't have funding, which was the problem a lot of these educators, what am I actively doing? So I choose to immediately start fundraising, grants writing, advanced planning. So it's the doing. So people respond by the doing, the understanding, the reaching out to others, emotionally working, and then that negative counterproductive category of, taking on too many responsibilities. If you've got too many steps in your goal, you're trying to do too many things at once, just putting on a happy face.
Yeah. So it sounds like with the maladaptive, having healthy boundaries helps,
Mhm.
and also really having understanding about what the real goal is, right? So
Yeah.
what are some other things to help people, because they might be like, well, I don't think I'm really too maladaptive. Like, you just don't understand. I can do a lot, right? What
Right.
are some things that people need to be aware of that are maladaptive, and what can they do to fix it so that it's like they're healthier?
Yeah, for some reason, we get this idea that if I remove all of my boundaries, I seem like I am working harder or I am better deserving. It's a way of shining a mirror on ourselves that make us seem like I deserve this more because I've gotten rid of these boundaries.
Yeah.
So some of the boundaries that people were setting were relationship boundaries. If you listen to others complain, you are willingly taking on their emotional baggage. So you can only have so much, right?
Like, seriously, if you listen to people complain, you're taking on their baggage.
Right. And for teachers, it was like, are you going to the lunchroom and hearing 15 people complain because you willingly, if you listen, and sometimes we need to, sometimes we have to be that supportive ear. There's a
Yeah.
line there.
But I did
But
avoid
just
the teacher's lounge a lot. And there was a
right,
reason for this. I ate alone a lot
right.
at lunch.
Yes, yes. There's just something about emotional investing in another person by hearing their problems, and that leaves less room for our own, which
Yeah.
ends up draining our well sooner.
Yeah.
So,
So there's balance with it, right? You want to be a supportive, caring
mhm.
friend, but also, like, if it's the same, like, sometimes it's just the same person always whining and complaining.
Right. And so the big thing is that's a piece of overcoming is being able to make sense of it. And so we complain and we work through it, and that's fine. When we complain, we're actually maybe looking for some kind of feedback from another human who's either going to validate us, or sometimes we're not even looking for validation. We don't even want their response. We just want people to hear us. And so the question becomes, are we listening to those people and taking on that negative energy?
Yeah. Oh, that's like a therapy session,
I know, right?
right? Because I like
Yeah.
to help people fix things.
Yeah. So we all understand the boundaries with email communication, but we don't always understand the boundaries of some of those pieces. We also sometimes, if I'm a teacher, there is a boundary I can set for here's the type of feedback I'd like to have from my administrators or who's working with me. And I would like feedback in this type of situation, in this type of response. And I can choose to ask for that feedback. Now, if they don't want to give it like that, that's an option, but I have put out the request for that. So that helps me emotionally.
Yeah. So how do you do that request? Because I'm thinking of like employees with their
Mhm.
bosses, or teachers with, the principal. How do you do that request without sounding entitled?
That's a wonderful piece that I encourage if they're not sure how to ask.
Yeah.
AI is wonderful now because you can say, here's how I'm feeling. Here's my boss's personality type. What are some ways that I can suggest this? And what I have found is that for a lot of people, it's like, hey, my learning type is this, and I really want to do well. Would you consider maybe shifting how you give me feedback so that I can be the best and I feel supported and everything? And a lot of times, what boss is ever going to say no? But if
Right.
you ask in a way that says, here's what I need, and I want to do better. A lot
Yeah.
of times they're like, oh, well, I would love to support you for that. It really depends on your boss's personality type. That's why I think typing it in and saying, here's what I'm working with, it will give you some great responses. And then you read through them, you choose what's best for you and what you're comfortable with, and you can do it. I do encourage you doing it face to face, or, if you're more comfortable with an email, just discussing why it's important. For me, I did do this when I was a teacher, and I said, hey, I'm looking to get better at such and such. Would you consider coming to observe and then giving me feedback in this way? And my administrator was like, yeah. So, and it started a wonderful relationship.
I love that. And I do think that people who are the leader of whatever organization it is, they do want their people doing well. And so if you're coming from the place of like, I'm looking for improvement and
Mhm.
I trust your judgment and want your opinion, you're right. I do think that that can come off pretty well. I also always recommend to people, if it's something verbal, record yourself on your phone, listen to it, right? Practice it, listen to it, keep doing it. And then once you get it the way you want it, push play and keep listening to it so that you know how you want to say it. If it's something that you feel uncomfortable, because I know some people, they just want to do emails and text messages and stuff. The thought of face to face is very scary.
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to uh, if this is our comfort zone right here, I love this. Ready? Comfort zone. It's literally come, like COM, and then fort, FORT. It's our fort, and we go there when we're scared. So comfort, and trying to get outside of that, we have to do some things that make us uncomfortable, but it has to feel right. So you have to understand how to ask in a way that you feel like you are. Um, it's for you to get better, right? And sometimes we don't feel good about things that we aren't good at. It makes us feel uncomfortable, and that makes it really scary to ask.
Yeah. And we're human. So anybody who thinks that they're expected to be perfect all the time, I'm sorry, like that's just not the reality. So I also love that you brought up the comfort zone. And I think that is a huge part of like the human experience is getting out of that comfort zone. It's also a huge part of being resilient and training yourself. So when life is hard, you're prepared. Would you agree? Like if you're consistently challenging yourself every day, which I feel like as moms, we're always every day.
Well, and as moms, the you can prepare for whatever, but you're always going to get a side, like something thrown at you. And so that being able to juggle whatever comes your way, I think I think it's great that we start as babies where they can't talk to us and we almost have to learn it before they learn how to judge us. And then later on, they get bigger and we get better. And then, it just kind of, we develop along the way, um,
it's
naturally built in.
it's we're constantly out of our comfort zone. But what are some things people can do? Because I'm a big believer in that. Like right now, I'm doing improv classes. Like how fun to do improv comedy to challenge myself, and it is a fun challenge. What are some other things that you think people can do to grow that comfort zone?
I think the biggest thing that you have to do, and I'm putting together,
Shrink the comfort zone. Yeah, we want to shrink it, grow outside of it.
yeah,
That's what.
yeah, yeah. Um, right now, I'm putting together a workbook, and it's for professional development for teachers, and it's for use with bigger programs and people to take a better reflective look. And this is a big question in it: is like, how do you get comfortable with things? And I think it comes from, you take one paper and you make a list of just, what am I good at? What are my strengths?
Mhm.
You take another paper and you say, what are my challenges right now in life? And we don't want 30 of them, but if you pick two or three, and then you draw a line across which challenges can match. But the other question is what do I want to work on to make better? And maybe we can put one of those things in each of those, and it doesn't become so overwhelming. So the idea of isolating. So if I'm going to talk to my boss and that's scary, the last thing I want to do is have nine different variables that also make that scary. I want to take something I'm very comfortable with. So maybe the first time you go to your boss and ask for this request, you go to your supervisor and you say, hey, I'm rocking this lesson plan on Friday. Would you stop by and just give me some tips and pointers? Here's maybe this feedback in this specific way would be very helpful. And then if that's the case, your only variable is talking to your supervisor, and you're going to hit the others out of the park. So you feel very comfortable with it. And
Okay.
then maybe the next month you say, hey, like, I've really, this thing that I'm working on, I really love some input, it's just not going great. And then you reach out. Maybe it's not to the same supervisor, maybe you reach out to a different one, but you slowly get comfortable with the things that you're not comfortable with. So if we try and do too many variables, that easy trap of quitting is going to happen faster.
Absolutely. It's like our brain can't handle it because our brain's wired for survival. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
this is too scary, too much. So I do like the baby steps approach.
Mhm.
When you said you list the things that you're confident in, that you're good at, your strengths, right? And then you have
Mhm.
2 to 3 challenges. Are when you said to match it, are you saying like, okay, these 2 to 3 challenges, I'm going to pick one challenge and I'm going to build confidence in my strengths to handle the
Mhm.
challenge? Is that what you're saying when you match it? Or what do you mean by matching it?
Yeah, it really kind of depends on the situation that you're going to tackle because you might not. I would hope that you have a couple strengths that you can handle to challenge that situation. Maybe per se, if we're talking about self growth, and
Yeah.
I want to get more comfortable talking in front of people, I'm going to look at my strengths and see what I have that can offer there. Like if you are going out of your comfort zone to do the
Improv.
speaking class, the improv class. Yeah. If you're going to go out of your comfort zone and you're feeling very scared with that, you can look and say, what are my strengths? My first thing would be like, do I have a friend that will take that with me? Or can I watch videos about that online to make it less scary? Can I see what I have? Like, what are my situations at home that I think are really funny, or ask my friends what are really funny? I would use what I know that I have in order to accomplish those. So it's kind of like a giant tracking of what resources you have to come at something. And that helps you have a little bit more control on the outcome too, versus just this goal that you have made. You're kind of putting your stamp on it.
And I think there's a lot of value in you proving to yourself that you can do it.
Oh,
This
yeah.
isn't you just saying like, "Oh, you're just gonna chant some affirmations and it's gonna be fine. You got this." You're saying, write it down, the things that you know you're good at. And here again, if you have a hard time thinking of things, ask some friends, ask some people who know you really
Yeah.
well, like, "Hey, what do you think I'm good at?" Right?
Right.
So I like that. Do you think that affirmations are important? Because I'm thinking when you started, we were talking about self-talk. And I
Hmm.
think kind of coming back to like planting those good seeds. Do you think affirmations are important or how do we adjust our self-talk?
I think every human, no matter what, we have a certain traumas that we bring to the table, right? We have these things in our head that have been problematic for us in the past. And that's everyone. And just understanding that normalizes the playing field, right? Therapy is okay. Therapy is good. Talking to others is good. Speaking about what bothers us is good. So normalizing those situations is very helpful. I think the first question that we have to ask ourselves is, uh, when we bring these past things to the table or things that we have in our heads, why do we feel judgment in certain situations? Are others judging us, or is it just ourselves? What situation have we put ourselves in? And if we feel our own judgment, the question is why does that force us towards a pathway of feeling failure, when it really, depending on your situation, it could adapt, like we were talking about. So I think it all comes down to, how do we define failure? Like, what does this thing I'm trying to do, if I
Mhm.
don't make it, what does that even look like? So sometimes it's a plan A, plan B, plan C, but it really shouldn't be like a backup plan. It's like, what if this happens, or what if this happens? Coming to the table prepared with some of these things help us have a better idea of like a visionary of
Mhm.
what it could become, so that we don't feel failure, right? They talk about the light bulb and inventing that, and he didn't have like 500 failures. He had 499 ways that he figured out not to invent a light bulb, right?
Right.
So I think it's just the headspace of coming at it. Now, you asked about affirmations. Do I feel they're important? So if we all have these traumas, I have this shelf in my bathroom that has this card deck that's daily affirmation cards. And
Oh,
it just is so supportive. And I think for everyone that is important, because it's like, am I making a difference? Am I doing good work?
yeah.
And sometimes, like my dad, he, a factory worker, the affirmations daily, like everyone needs them. And sometimes we don't see the difference we're making. And so, yes, I think that they're important. There's this little jar on Amazon. It's a dumpster fire jar, and it has the little dumpsters that are on fire, and it's got like things that are supportive. You open it up, and it's got things that are supportive in it. And it's like,
I
even
love it.
if your world is on fire, there are so many positive things that you can say or feel or do to take one tiny step in any direction. And as long as you're taking a step in any direction, you're not staying where you are, which is good.
That's so good. And I also think, our brain believes whatever we tell it. So if we feed it garbage, we talk garbage about ourselves, we keep berating ourselves, focusing on negatives and complainers, like that's what's going to happen in our brain, right? But feeding it good I love the affirmations idea with the little cards. That's a great
Mhm.
idea. And then, of course, writing down so that you're proving to yourself your
Mhm.
worth and what you're good at. Um, I feel like we need to have like a tough conversation for parents. We are parents. I was
Yes.
a teacher, and I don't know we're just going to have to dive in and do this, but children need to learn how to be resilient,
Oh, yeah.
have to learn how to handle life. And I know
Mhm.
parents are doing this from a place that they're trying to take care of and love their children. Sometimes the best ways to learn are tough love.
The only way to learn is by doing.
Yes.
That's a thing. That is a theory of education, by doing, as social learning theory, and by doing, and by stepping in some of these areas and limiting their failure, or making sure that they don't fail at some point. It's actually not teaching the lesson, right? So I'll use this as an example. My daughter just had she had a competition, and we got there, and her dance shoes were not her bag. And I knew they weren't in the bag because she had left them there the night before. And so I didn't realize until we got home. When we got to the competition, there were two options, and her coach was like, well, maybe we can get one of the other little girls to let her borrow the shoes. And it was a jazz soft shoe. And I said, no, you know what? She's got her tights on. She'll go do the dance. Nobody's even going to notice. They're tan, and she will remember her shoes next time. And it's a way of, did that cause some uncomfort? Yes, but they say that it's impossible to learn anything unless there is cognitive dissonance, which means unless I realize and understand there's a problem, I will never learn this thing. So by raising them up constantly and not letting them fail, and for some reason, I wonder if maybe parents, we think that that means we don't love them. That's not. That's a parental guidance love. Are they safe? Are they fed? Are they, do they have everything that they need for natural survival? Yes. So we send them off, and there has to be these points of cognitive distance where they are faced with the situation that they are in, that they have to figure out. And that's where learning occurs.
Yes. I hope everybody rewinds and listens to that again. Because that was very good. I also like to teach my children, you don't have to be perfect. So you get like, if you forgot your homework at school, one time for the whole year, will I go back to school and get it?
Ah,
You want to
yes.
use this as your one time, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't have to be perfect. And you could do, depending on the kid, like once a semester or whatever. My kids are capable. I don't want them to think that they have to be perfect, but I like that you didn't yell at your daughter. That would
No,
be
there was no yelling. Yeah.
shame her. You didn't say, oh, how dare you? I can't believe you did it again. You didn't do any of those things. It was a teaching moment. And I think sometimes parents, they forget that it's not mean. I've had parents say that, like, oh, I couldn't do that to my kid. It's mean. And I'm like, it's a natural consequence. I'm
Right.
encouraging them and teaching them, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's a big difference. Also, do you think I noticed whenever a student did something they weren't supposed to do, which we know kids, they always make mistakes, right? Like, come on, they're kids. I always make mistakes. I'm an adult.
Mhm.
Kids are not supposed to be perfect. So I would always pay attention to the parent's reaction. When a
Mhm.
kid messed up, as they do, I would, talk to the parent. And if the parent was like, oh, my angel would never do that, if I
Mhm.
saw it with my own eyes, I'm like, okay, this is going to be problematic. Or if the parent was like, what happened? Yes, I will be on top of it. I would know the kid is going to be fine. So I want parents to also know it's not a judgment of you if your kid messes up. That
Mhm.
hap-
Right.
Right?
It's a natural learning consequence. So like just understanding you don't need to be on their side. They do need advocates, but it's
Yes.
not an advocate as in you are always taking their side no matter what. It's an advocate of their best development.
Yeah.
So if their development is we have this issue, then own it, understand it, and it doesn't mean your student's bad. One of the big things I pitch is that no student is bad, no child is bad.
No.
It's a bad behavior and it can be corrected. So, understanding that doesn't matter what has been done, there's a learning situation that can occur from it.
Mhm.
So, I think that's one of I'm trying to remember the official term for it. It's like a classroom, actually, like a learning theory that says that uh, our relationship can stay good as teacher and student because I understand that you're going to be learning and this is a consequence that you made, but we recovery practices, I think. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's just really important because I do think it with parents, and I have to check myself too as a mom. Like, am I being the type of mom that I would have wanted in my classroom? The
Hmm.
teacher, right?
Hmm.
But I do think parents, it's either they're coming from a place of they think that they're being loving by being so protective and not letting their kids make mistakes and fixing everything, or that it's like the judgment, the fear of judgment that I'm a bad parent.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a reflection. They feel like it's a reflection of them, which
Yeah.
if you stop looking at everything your child does as a reflection of you, the
Yeah.
outcome is going to be much different.
Yeah. Because kids, I mean, I don't know about your kids, but mine had their little personalities pretty much right away. I mean, you just know
Hmm.
that they're their own person and you do the best you can as a parent. And also advocating for teachers. Teachers are human too and
Hmm.
have personal lives and still have to show up and be super patient with all these kids.
Well, and by going after a teacher in a certain situation, you're not actually helping that learning happen because later in life, their boss or their supervisor or someone, they're going to find a similar situation and it will come back eventually.
It will, absolutely. I've been hearing that I guess parents, some parents nowadays go to their kids' job interviews with them.
Oh, God.
You heard that? I think it was Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank had said that he has had that happen. I'm like, no, 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 we cannot go to job interviews with your kids.
There are so many emails we get from parents at the university level, and there are laws in place where you can't disclose that information. It's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't. The only person I'm allowed to talk to is the student in this situation. I'm like, I encourage you to talk to your student.
Yeah, exactly. We're all doing our best. I do believe that. And hopefully we're all learning and growing. What are some books that you recommend for people to read?
This is tricky because there's not a lot of books on this subject right now. So if they email me, I'll send them my dissertation. But other than that, I encourage you to really invest in. Actually, I've just finished this book. This is Simply More. Cynthia Erivo. She was in Wizard of Oz.
Wicked?
Um, Wicked, yeah. She's in Wicked. And this is simply more, just understanding that you are simply more than any situation you're in. And there are so many uplifting things that are through this. It's not simply you and you are you're bigger than the sum of what you are. So it's a book for anyone who's been told they're too much or anyone who has been struggling to get through situations or accomplish a goal. It's exactly about what we've been talking about. So I really would encourage that book. It's been wonderful.
Not read that, so I will have to check that out. I also love, have you heard of Do Hard Things by Steve Magnus?
I have not.
It's really good. And it dives
Mhm.
into resilience and how we've gotten it wrong in the past.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he really focuses more on athletes and the military because a lot of times it's like, oh, you should just be tough and suppress all the emotions. And you were already saying, like, no, you need to recognize them, they're valid,
Mhm.
process them, and then move forward
Mhm.
and just stuff them.
Yeah, you can't just shove them away. It's got to be something that you recognize what it is and you take a look at it and then you understand it from a different perspective. Like what does this look like to others or what could this be? You know.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's good. So how can people get in touch with you? I know that you speak on multiple topics. You
mhm.
are mentoring people and doing so much good in your field. So how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I can leave my contact information with you. I'm available through email and phone. I'm interviewing a lot at the university levels right now, looking for where I want to land up. So that's collegiate profession is probably where I'm going to be. But that's the best way to contact me. And I love to connect with people. So I highly encourage it.
Yeah. So I will make sure that your email address is in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tasha. All right.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Diary of a Dreamer. I hope you found the stories and tips shared today to be a source of motivation and strength. Remember, every challenge you face is a chance to grow and move closer to your dreams. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with anyone who could use a boost of encouragement. Please check out my website, TashaEizinger.com.